Hello, everybody. My name is Kadra Evans. I am the Director of Industry Relations for Zillow New Construction. Some of you may recognize me from attending previous Wisconsin Builder events, but for those of you I don't know, it occurs to me that you may not realize why Zillow is even in this room with you. There's a couple of reasons. Let me tell you about them. First, if you didn't already know, Zillow is the country's largest real estate platform. We also have a separate business that's strictly designed for builders to be able to showcase their communities, their spec inventory homes, and their buildable plans alongside resale listings on Zillow.com. We also sell additional advertising to boost a builder's exposure to both Zillow and to other platforms. The other reason we're in this room with builder associations is because we work on a local, state, and national government policy level with them. We align with the builders and with the realtors on many issues, and we want to work together to affect positive change for our industry. I know there are folks from a variety of different sides of the industry involved in the association, so I wanted to make sure what we're talking about today really resonates for everyone in the room. So we're going to talk about consumers. You and I are all consumers first. We expect a certain type of experience, whether we're shopping for gadgets, maybe clothing, maybe even real estate. And what we expected 4 years ago is likely different than what we expect today in 2023. There is a common phrase, you've heard it, that says the only constant is change, meaning that everything in life is subject to change. Some changes are expected, the change in seasons, for example. Some changes are progressive. A pandemic, perhaps. Adapting to change is not always comfortable. It requires us to come out of that comfort zone and adapt to a new set of circumstances. Our post-pandemic world has had us all questioning what's next. What do we really want? Fun fact, did you know that the most Googled word of 2022 was change? We're just going to go ahead and do this for the lawyers. Shout out to the lawyers. This legal disclaimer is for you. I think it's safe to say that the future is going to look different from the past. We have seen lots of changes just in our industries of technology or real estate, and we'll discuss a few of those in more detail in a few minutes. We've seen the rise of the super app in Asia. We've seen new technology to facilitate remote work. We've seen AI going mainstream. What? There's a lot going on. In social media, there are emerging services that push against endless scrolling, or they try to help us all short circuit the addictive quality of all this social media that we're fed. Companies like Off Time and Freedom block you from sites like Instagram after a certain number of hours per week. Can you imagine? This trend of high intent, a personalized experience, is a far cry from what we observed just a few years ago when it was all about everything at our fingertips and push a button, make anything happen, and the gig economy, which was a frenzy of optionality, a shunning of commitment. It's really shifted. One thing we can always count on is that our customers are going to evolve as well. They're going to evolve based on social, economic, and technological influences. And wow, we have had a lot of those in the past few years. I love to use the evolution of Zillow as an example of taking a consumer pain point and meeting them where they are or where they were at the time, which was this new thing called the internet. Zillow was founded to empower consumers and around how they find a home, giving them more information that is essential in helping them make the most important financial decisions of their lives. You may remember the old days. To see homes listed for sale, you had to go out, you had to find a licensed real estate agent who had access to this holy grail, this physical MLS book, the catalog of properties for sale. They were updated weekly. In the early 2000s, those MLS books moved online, but consumers still didn't have a way to see that data on their own. They still had to go to the agent to get access to those listings. They wanted the lights turned on, which we did. And then we had the Zestimate, which turned them on, the lights on even more. And that was what we call Zillow 1.0 internally. Zillow 1.0, bringing transparency to the industry and empowering consumers with data. Our next phase, we call Zillow 2.0. Clever, I know. It's all about bringing ease to the transaction. So if you think about the Zestimate, turning on the lights in the grocery store and allowing consumers to shop around and compare prices, Zillow today is about addressing the long, stressful checkout line where the checker is scanning one item at a time. Ugh, can you imagine? Often, there are many new entrants that are approaching real estate and prop tech innovation from a burn down and rebuild or a start from scratch mentality. There's a focus on some of the customer pain points, and we all know there's a lot, but sometimes they overlook at what already works. So I would ask you today to think about what already works that you're doing. What do you have in place that you love? Every company has something that they're operating from. In real estate, we've got the MLS, that works. Online shopping platforms like Zillow, those work. And we've got this amazing liquid, transparent real estate market that we all enjoy here in the US and across North America. It doesn't really exist anywhere else in the world like it does here. I think everyone here knows that a customer-first strategy is the winning strategy, but do customers even always know what they want? If you ask a customer in 2005 what would make a great cell phone, they'd tell you a thinner phone like this one. Ooh, it's like a time capsule was opened. This is the Motorola Razr. We all remember it. They wouldn't tell you they wanted an iPhone in 2005. What? Real estate is regulated, new construction is regulated, and it's inundated with local policies and regulations. And we're not necessarily to even help predict what consumers want. Innovations that we all want and that customers want aren't always permitted, but this doesn't mean that we lose back to the sight. The customers are our North Star. So let's talk about the future of real estate. But let's remember, as smart as we may be in this room, the future is slippery and hard to predict and full of regulations. You guys in this room know it best, right? Let's take a look at this. For example, about 20 years ago, when the single serve coffee maker came out, it's been 20 years, people predicted this golden age of coffee. By giving consumers the ability to make a cup of coffee on demand, quickly and with no mess, experts predicted an increase in coffee consumption. And yet, as more people bought these single serve coffee makers, the benchmark price for coffee beans fell. What happened? Well, as one coffee exec put it, we lost our best customer, the kitchen sink. If you think about it, before single cup coffee makers, people like me still today would brew a full pot of coffee, drink half of it, and dump the rest. The invention of the single serve coffee maker meant that Americans were, they were consuming more coffee. Think of all those yummy flavors, but they were also wasting less, which meant lower demand overall for coffee beans. Here's another random fact for you that points to the changes that we've seen. Chewing gum sales have been falling steadily for 15 years. Is there anything you can think of that's significant about where the sales started to dip? Well, the slide tells you, if you look closely, that decline coincided with the launch of the iPhone. But why? Let's think about what you're doing in the checkout line at the store instead of staring at this shelf of impulse buys. You're looking at your phones. And I don't know where this line is, and I don't know what this store is, but I do know I'm not going there because that line is crazy, right? Wow. So what's next? So maybe we'll be like those coffee executives. Maybe we'll be like the Wrigley family and get it wrong. There's other companies that have gotten it wrong, Blockbuster, Kodak. But let's take a stab at predicting the future. Hopefully we'll get the themes right. And as we recognize that we'll adjust as theories collide with reality. Here are some things that we think are important. Let me share some trends with you. Trend 1, personalization. Personalization is everywhere. By the way, have you ever accidentally clicked on a link to shop for something on Instagram and now it follows you around, not only on Instagram, but everywhere? Well, that's personalization, and it's marketing to you and the fact that you looked at a shirt on Instagram that one day. Another good example of personalization is somebody who's really gotten it right. Netflix. So we know that Netflix recommends shows based on what we've previously watched and what people like us have watched, but it really goes much further than that. The graphics that Netflix shows us for a particular show depend on our psychographic profile. So for example, I'm a sucker for a good rom-com, and that genre tends to dominate my watch history. So as my husband and I search for something to watch together in my profile, to his dismay, we're going to see graphics that one may describe as mushy or sentimental rather than action or violence oriented. No blood in the graphics shown to me. Unbeknownst to most people, Netflix will have something like 400 pieces of artwork for every show. And it shows you the artwork tile on your recommendation screen that they think will draw you in personally. So for Batman, one tile may show a violent action scene if you just watched The Fast and the Furious 850. But if you just watched a rom-com, it will show a tile of Batman wrapping his arm around someone. True story, except there might be more than 850 Fast and Furious sequels. Not really sure. In at-home design and renovation, we're seeing businesses crop up that help you arrive at an end result rather than just facilitating the process. Think of this. Think of Yelp versus OpenTable. Yelp helps you search for restaurants around you. OpenTable closes the loop by letting you see what's available for a reservation now and actually booking the reservation on the site. Here's what they're doing in home design and renovation. No longer do we have to scroll for hours on Wayfair just to order something that we don't like or have some buyer's remorse. Design services like Havenly use 3D mapping and AI to recommend and bring together your interior choices in your space. It's more intentional, it's more personalized to your space and your style. At Zillow, this phrase high intent it's a widely used phrase. It reverberates through our digital hallways, and it's a pillar of our strategy. We are very focused on identifying high intent movers and helping them explore options that are right for their needs and wants, help them connect with great agents and into a home they want to buy faster and with greater success than they can find elsewhere. What that looks like over here. We want high intent browsing experiences. So we're applying our AI chops to deliver more curation to our 200 million monthly users, from FaceTime Share Play that allows shoppers to search together with family and friends, or maybe even their real estate agent, to 3D tours and floor plans. How do we know we're making the right investments? We ask our consumers directly. Every year, we publish a consumer housing trends report where we survey about 9,000 buyers, sellers, and renters. We also have 1,000 buyers who are new construction specific buyers, since their preferences are really different than buyers who've purchased a used home. This year's study reported that 54% of new construction buyers said that they wasted time during their home search viewing properties they would have skipped if they understood the floor plan prior to the visit. Talk about putting a not so good taste in their mouth about a brand or new construction more broadly. It's just not a good look. 85% of new construction buyers said they're more likely to view a home if the online information included a floor plan. The floor plan gets them comfortable with the idea that this may indeed be the right home for them. By investing in the real estate technologies that allow for a more seamless and thorough research phase, builders are creating a more joyful experience for their customers and ultimately saving their team time, not nurturing leads that will never convert. All of this time saved, of course, saves the builder money in the long run. And this investment in technology can pay off in spades. It seems really simple. We talk about this day in and day out, and we have for years. 3D tours are no longer a nice to have. They are a must have. 43% of new construction buyers versus 20% of existing buyers prefer 3D tours over in-person viewings. But alas, this content is not a waste of your time. The extra time you're taking to add 3D tours to your listings has a major return on investment. Check this out. Our data shows that listings with 3D tours get 68% more views and 36% more saves, meaning they click the little heart on the tile, than listings that don't have them. New construction buyers are more interested in digital tools across the board. Makes sense because it's not a given that they're going to be able to see, feel, touch, smell an actual home like they can with the resale listing. Again, efforts to give this online experience to buyers is not in vain. You can see that from the statistics. You are giving buyers a level of comfort they've never had with new construction before. Digital tools are so sophisticated that 43% of buyers said they felt at least somewhat comfortable making an offer without touring a home. That's crazy. Never before in history could we have said that. The point here is that in-person tours still hold value. Buyers are going to live in a physical space, not a digital rendering of the home, but 3D tours make the selection process more efficient. For instance, virtual tours can guide people through their initial research stage to save time until they're serious about seeing a particular home in person. For builders, these tools help pre-qualify leads so that ISMs and on-site sales teams are spending their time nurturing leads that are more likely to convert to a sale. Customers want convenience. They want on demand, but they are tired of sifting through the noise. That's the difference of today's buyer. They want options to produce something of value in their lives. They want somebody doing the work for them and bringing them things that they know are going to be valuable. Trend number 2. As recently as 2019, we were talking about our iPhones as the remote control for our lives. Push a button, magic happens. But that magic was the result of a bunch of disconnected apps that didn't talk to one another. Think of how many apps you have on your phone, and you have to go into each one separately to do a different function. You can't reuse the information from one app into another app. Think of what your family room looks like. You've got 6 different remotes doing 6 different things. Oh, you want to watch Apple TV? Well, that remote doesn't integrate with your regular TV remote. Go get that remote. It's just disconnected, and that's changing. So a big focus now is on these integrated experience. People in tech call it end-to-end or E2E experiences. There's a couple of different categories of building integrated experiences that stand out. The first is the super app. You've probably heard this term. If you're a big geek like me and you listen to earnings calls, you've heard Zillow's strategy really revolves around building the super app. It's an end-to-end experience. It simply means that a consumer will be able to use Zillow to manage every part of their real estate journey. This concept is not a new or unique concept. There are companies attempting to build this type of integrated framework across the globe. As we walk through examples of integrated companies, see if you can identify how they're similar and how they're different, because there definitely are some. And spoiler alert, I'm going to give you the answer, but think about it. One example is WeChat in China. It's a really popular app. If you didn't know, Facebook is actually banned in China. So WeChat started to meet the demand for a social media platform. Today, as WeChat has evolved to meet ever-changing consumer demands, the app rolls in instant messaging, social media, video chat, photo sharing, and mobile app payments all into one platform. As of 2018, it was the world's largest standalone mobile app with over 1 billion active users each month. First example of a super app. GoTo. This is a super app in Indonesia, and it started as 2 companies, kind of random how they ended up together, but one was a ride hailer and one was an online marketplace that also did financial services and logistics. The 2 merged, and they now have more than 100 million active users, 11 million merchants, 2 million drivers, and revenue that represents 2% of Indonesia's $1 trillion economy. GoTo. You've probably heard of Dave Banking. Dave aims to make banking approachable. It's got that cute little cartoon bear mascot, low monthly fees starting at about $1, and services like checking accounts with no minimums or overdraft fees, automated budgeting, cash advances of up to $200, and you can build your credit score through reporting of rent and utility payments to credit bureaus as well. That's Dave Banking. And last but not least, Greenlight. I think this is the coolest. My niece and nephew use this. It's a subscription-based app starting at $4.99 per month per family. It offers things like automatic allowances, chore tracking, budgeting, charitable giving, and debit cards for kids. And it's all overseen by parents. So it really is teaching kids financial literacy from an earlier age than we used to see it. So remember, I asked you to think about how these companies were similar and how they're different. Well, they're all integrated. That's how they're similar, but they're different because with the super apps, WeChat and GoTo, they're taking many different services and capabilities and integrating them through core functionality like payments and delivery. They're vertically integrating a marketplace through one connected experience, but there's lots of different players playing in that sandbox together, not just the one company. Those vendors, those players work within the super app to supply the experience. On the other hand, you've got companies saying, we do it all. Your checking, savings, investing, your credit monitoring, your mortgage, et cetera. We'll do that all for you and your family, but it's only our services. We don't let anybody behind the velvet ropes of our company. So at Zillow, our plan is to go the route of the super app, the vertically integrated marketplace with one connected experience, but lots of players working within it. As we discussed at the beginning of the presentation, it is critical to adapt to changing consumer expectations. At Zillow, it starts with learning where our customers are. What are they doing? These customers are coming to the site with different needs and at different stages of their shopping journey. Some are here to search for their dream home. Some want to actively tour. Some are looking for financing options, some are selling, and some may be renting or for the short or long term. And the journey's not linear. People can bounce between all of these different pillars, right? So it's really important for us here at Zillow to know where they are at any particular moment and to meet them there. Some of the pieces of the journey have not drastically changed in the past 5 years, but some really have. I want to take a look at touring a home. For decades, it has been the same. Find an agent. That agent deals with the nightmare of setting showings, or a builder has to have a full-time staff in a sales center waiting for customers to show up and walk through a model home. For consumers, if you want to look at that model home, you have to get there during business hours or maybe not at all. Times they're changing though. This is where self-touring has come in. Really, really cool what technology has allowed us to do really since the pandemic. So millennials have shown over and over again that they want tools to do research on their own, but they still want a human interaction when they decide to take the next step. They're looking for this true hybrid experience. What does this mean? Let's look at this stat. 69% of new construction buyers said it would be easier to unlock properties with their mobile phones and tour them in person on their own time. Buyers may not have time to go to a sales center during business hours. Buyers may also want to tour a property without a salesperson looking over their shoulder so they can take their time and really get a sense for the home. So why not have an option for them to go to the model home at their convenience, take their time, and then you can follow up with them after they're done. Think about the great conversation that you can have. Zillow has actually jumped at the chance to innovate in this space with our builder partners. We have a pilot for our self-tour product currently underway. There's also other systems that allow for this type of access to model homes. It's a great way to show buyers that you care about how they want to tour and meet them where they are. Home shapes us. When you think about the impact that you have on your customers, you are shaping their lives. Every place that we've lived marks time in the story of our lives, and the addresses or chapter titles. Your previous address marks the end of something, and your next one marks the start of something, the next possibility in your life. So the way you think about customer experience has probably had a profound impact on how you look at your business as a whole. The impression that you leave at the end of any kind of interaction with your prospects and clients leaves an important mark on how they perceive you and your products, and how they talk about you to their friends, by the way. So let me leave you with this story about how a company can make a mark on customers, no matter what industry. I was at a jewelry store a few weeks ago, just getting some jewelry cleaned, not nearly as fun as shopping at said jewelry store. But my eyes were drawn to this little girl. She was about 4 or 5, and she was meandering through the aisles, eyes aglow. I recognized the expression. It's the same one I have when wandering the aisles of a jewelry store. Her mom was getting some services done as well. So the little girl came back to the counter, and the lady behind the counter took out of a tray of rings for little kids. They had designs on them like ice cream cones and hearts and dogs and rainbows. And you would have thought that little girl won the lottery. I get to pick out my very own ring at the jewelry store. Spoiler alert, she picked the ice cream cone, and that kid left the store walking on air. Happy kids equal happy parents. And that, to me, is a top-notch customer experience. It struck me so much that I'm here telling you about it today. It wasn't even my kid. So I tend to think about this experience as I make my way through the world and work with our partners and our customers and everyone in between. These are marks you make on people when you put the consumer first. And when you make them the centerpiece of your business, all of us in this industry win collectively. So thank you so much for having me. I'm going to drop one more link for you. If you're interested in learning more about the consumer insights, you can visit our resource center and actually download a free copy. So there's the link. Please do it if you're interested. And please reach out to me if you've got any questions. It has been a pleasure being here with you today. Thanks so much.